I once heard of an underground labyrinth in a remote part of Eastern Europe, which, as per local legends, was built centuries ago to punish the worst criminals. They would be thrown into its maze-like structure and left to wander, lost and hungry, until they either found an exit or perished. The labyrinth intrigued me. As an avid explorer, I decided to visit and map it out to see if there was any truth behind these myths. When I arrived in the small village closest to the entrance, the locals warned me not to venture inside as they believed it was cursed and haunted. Not one to be deterred by superstitions, I embarked on my journey, armed with a torch, provisions, and my map-making equipment. Inside the labyrinth was damp and eerily silent. The walls seemed to stretch endlessly in all directions. Hours turned into days, and soon I realized that the tales of it being a complex maze were no exaggeration. I often found myself retracing my steps and coming across the same dead ends. On the third day, I stumbled upon remnants of a campsite, tattered clothes, abandoned equipment, and gnawed bones. The chilling discovery confirmed that many before me had tried to conquer the labyrinth and failed. As the days wore on, I began to hear whispers echoing through the winding passages. At first, I thought I was just imagining them, but then they grew louder and more distinct. "Hungry, so hungry," they would repeat, chilling my blood. One evening, while trying to rest, I caught sight of shadows moving in the distance. Cautiously, I approached and was horrified to see a group of emaciated figures, their eyes wild with hunger, gnawing on what appeared to be human remains. Before I could process the gruesome scene, one of them spotted me and let out a shrill cry. The others looked up, their faces twisted in an expression of twisted delight. Realizing I was their next meal, I sprinted back into the labyrinth steps. I ran for what seemed like hours, my heart pounding in my chest. The winding corridors became a blur as I desperately tried to evade my pursuers. Every so often I'd hear their whispers grow louder, signaling they were closing in. In my panic, I stumbled upon a hidden chamber with a massive ornate door. With the cannibalistic figures fast approaching, I managed to push it open and slip inside, slamming it shut behind me. Inside the chamber was filled with ancient inscriptions and symbols. At the center was a stone pedestal, upon which sat a dusty old book. With trembling hands, I picked it up and began to read. It told of the labyrinth's origins, a punishment ground turned into a feeding den for the cursed. The book also hinted at a way out, a specific sequence of turns and hallways that would lead to the exit. With newfound hope, I committed the sequence to memory, took a deep breath, and ventured back into the labyrinth. Following the book's directions, I navigated the maze, always wary of the lurking threats. Miraculously, I emerged at the entrance just as dawn broke. The fresh air and sunlight felt like a dream. The villagers were astonished to see me return alive. Without waiting, I warned them of the horrors inside and urged them to seal the entrance forever. I left the village with a promise never to return, haunted by the echoes of those whispers. The labyrinth's dark secret was real, and I narrowly escaped becoming a part of its eternal feast.